And then we sleep through day, then we play all through the late night. Sleep through day, then we play all through the late night. All through the late night. See you play, don't you wait all through the late night.
See Hail Mary's went before. Oh my goodness! It's a touchdown! You gotta be kidding me!
All through the late night.
The wait is almost over. It's almost here. We're less than 48 hours from UCF football being back. Feels good, doesn't it? What do we expect this year? What are our expectations? How are we going to do? Obviously, it's a completely new roster, completely new coaching staff. We went 4-8 last year. What are our expectations? What's realistic? What should we look out for? And what do we want out of this year? Obviously, you want to win every game, but let's be realistic, not going to. This isn't 2017. At least not yet, right? Scott Frost is back. What do we want out of Scott Frost's first year? Well, we're going to look through our brand new coaching staff. We're going to look through our starting lineup and some roster change up. And then, of course, we're going to get that all-important season predictions. Let's start off straight ahead with that staff lookup. Obviously, the prodigal son has returned. Scott Frost is back at UCF. Doesn't it feel good? Feels good a little bit, at least. Not many people are up on Scott Frost's return. Obviously, went to Nebraska, did not go well. But you got to understand a few things about that run. Number one, Scott Frost never wanted to leave Orlando. He's been very open with it. It was obvious at the time. It's even more obvious now. Scott Frost did not want to leave Orlando for Nebraska. He went because he felt he had to. He was being begged and pushed and pulled by family, other people, Nebraska themselves. It did not go good. You could say there's many reasons for that. You could say it was him. You could say it was the style of offense he ran didn't really mesh well. You could say there was off-the-field drama that happened. I don't know. I don't care. There are a lot of things about it that we don't know. There are things that come out that really don't paint the time there in a good light. In Frost's favor, that he wasn't particularly set up to be successful. I don't know. I will tell you this. There's no coach in college football that loves UCF football more than Scott Frost. He wants it very, very, very badly. There's nobody who wants to win at UCF more than Scott Frost. And I'll tell you what, he could win 30 games in a row. And I do not see him moving. He owes a lot to UCF. He knows and he wants to give back to UCF. He loves it here. We love him here. And he is being set up to be successful. So, be optimistic, right? Another coach in the same exact light is Alex Grinch. Now, Alex Grinch, you ask some more of the boisterous people in the media, you would hear that Alex Grinch is the worst defensive coordinator in the country. Simply not true, obviously. Many worse people than us. At a time, he shares a very similar path to Coach Frost in that at a time he was the hottest name in college football. Then things went south, and now he is the poster boy for bad coaches. Now, there are things, again, that you have to understand. Alex Grinch went to 2 stops with Lincoln Riley, and at both stops, some have claimed that Alex Grinch was Lincoln Riley's scapegoat. Look into it, and you can see where they're coming from. Obviously, Alex Grinch got fired, and Lincoln Riley didn't get much better. There's not many people who want it more than Alex Grinch. His name is tarnished, trashed, and people laugh at him when they hear his name. There's nobody who wants to clear their name more than Scott Frost and Alex Grinch. So look out for that combo right there. And the rest of the coaching staff is a lot more straight up positive. Of course, we have Steve Cooper on tight ends, Sean Beckton wide receivers, both very big names. Mike Dawson, great right there. Kenny Martin, defensive tackle. Sean Clark, what a great name right there. Brandon Harris. Mackenzie Milton is very, very big one. Of course, he was with Coach Heupel at Tennessee as an offensive analyst for the longest time. Now he's quarterback coach. There's nobody who knows Scott Frost's system better than Mackenzie Milton. Of course, he ran it. It's a hard system for quarterbacks. Who better to teach it than somebody who was very successful with it, right? Ask many people in the media, and they say Mackenzie Milton is set up to be a head coach someday. Of course, he was in a 30 under 30 coaches article the other day, and everyone is up on Mackenzie Milton as coach right now. I expect a lot of success in the future with Mackenzie Milton. Hey, maybe one day he'll come head coach for us down the lineup. Special teams coordinator Pete Alomar. Of course, we've had some struggles recently under previous tenures with special teams, but Pete Alomar is a very good special teams coach. Expect some success coming from that. Onto the roster, of course, coaches are interesting, but hey, they're not the ones we're looking at on the field. It all comes down to the players, right? Quarterback. It was a hotly debated, hotly contested thing for months and months and months, till very recently we've named Cam Fancher the starting quarterback. Cam Fancher is a senior transfer out of FAU, played at Marshall. Wasn't the hottest at either one of them. In fact, was not very good. Again, you got to understand what happened there. FAU's O-line was one of the worst in the country. They were also just one of the worst teams in the country. Now, how much of that was his fault remains to be seen. He is our starting quarterback. What you got to understand about quarterbacks this year is we're going to be a run-heavy team. Coaches need somebody who is consistent, who is safe. We're not looking for our franchise QB this year. We have people next year in high school recruits for that. The coaching staff this year needed somebody safe, clean, and who would not lose us games straight out. Throughout practice, Cam was always a figurehead and a leader, stepped out, and really was the safe option. Somebody who's not going to lose us games straight up is what the coaching staff is looking for in that. He beat Ja'Curry Brown and Taven Jackson. Of course, Ja'Curry played last year. He is the backup quarterback, QB2 right now. And you may recognize Taven Jackson as one of the first recruits Coach Frost and the coaching staff did when he first got here, and that we paid a lot of money for him. And he was supposed to be the starting quarterback. The job was really for him. What happened there? We paid a lot of money for him, and he's not playing. He's not even QB2. Now, a lot of people would look at that and say, oh my goodness, Coach Frost, what the heck are you doing? You're wasting our money. But I would counter that and say, that is the greatest thing we have ever seen. That a coach would not play somebody just because we paid them. Now, I won't get into what happened last year, but look into last year, and that had the previous tenure in general, there was a very, very large amount of just playing somebody because we paid the most for them, or only playing seniors, or not giving younger, better players a chance. It's clear that this coaching staff is the exact opposite in a perfect way, in a great way, and that's exactly what you need to be successful nowadays. The best player on the field, or on the team, needs to be the one on the field, and coaching staff says that's Cam Fancher. I'm inclined to trust him until further notice. Other things, position groups, we have O-line. We see Carter Miller, Keegan Smith, Paul Rubelt. Paul, big guy. You recognize his name. Didn't play last year off of injury. the 6'10" legend from Germany. Big guy. He's going to be a great player this year for his senior year. The strongest group we have by far would probably be considered the defensive line. Defensive line is stacked. We have very good talent there, very good coach there. The position group with the most questions, aside from quarterback, is definitely wide receiver. We have interesting stuff there. Obviously, right here on this article, number 1 as most confusing. We have a ton of young talent. A ton of talent, but a ton of unproven talent. What you want to see out of the wide receivers this year is you want to see 1 or 2 guys step up, be that guy, and you can get away with a year from that and let them build on top of them for next year. Wide receiver is an interesting thing. D-line's a thing. Running back, obviously, we don't have UCF legend R.J. Harvey anymore, but we do have Miles Montgomery and Jaden Nixon. 1-2 punch, but man, that's gonna be just as good as RJ was last year. The previous tenured coach was always in the theory of running backs as pick your one guy and give it to him every time. So a very, very talented RB like Miles Montgomery would get wouldn't get that many options, but he's very talented in what he is. Scott Frost's offense has always been a multi-running back system, and you'll see a lot more touchdowns and carries spread around through the running back room between those two. D-line, John Walker, Malachi Lawrence, Nigel Kelly, R.J. Jackson, just a great stuff right there. I wouldn't even be worried. They're probably going to be one of the strongest D-lines in the Big 12. Our strongest position group by far. Kelly Lawson, Lewis Carter, good stuff all around. Special teams. We've had problems with special teams in recent years. In fact, sometimes they've single-handedly lost us games. We haven't had a kick return touchdown since the war on I-4 in 2017. Obviously, the reservation for 6 in the Cabanas. If there was a year for us to have a kick return touchdown again, expect it this year. Expect a lot of good stuff on special teams this year. Like I said, Pete Alomar, special teams coach, is a very, very good special teams coach. One of the best in the country, if I can find his name. There he is, Pete Alomar. Great special teams coach. Now, what you've all been waiting for. Hey, names and stuff. All I care about is wins and losses, right? Goal is always 6-6. Coach Frost gets a contract extension if he makes a bowl this year. What's that going to look like? Let's go through. I have this little matchup right here that gives us the games I am most confident we'll win, most confident we'll lose, and the games we maybe don't bet on. That's a little hard bet, right? Confident we'll get those first 2. We're going to go through these, of course. I'm going to go through and actually get a solidified game-by-game breakdown after this, but just go through and get a little preview. And we have a game, a toss-up, I'm not really sure. Some hard games over here, handful of toss-ups in the middle of the schedule, some losses against teams that are more stable. And what we see is 2 games I'm very confident we will bare minimum win. 4 games I am confident we will lose. So what that means is absolute devastating floor. We win 2 games. Interesting, right? Interesting. And what we see is these little T's. If we win 4 out of the 6 toss-up games, that's a bowl game right there. And that's what I would consider a good season, and I think that's very possible. Let's go through and look at these individually and we will get that final breakdown. Jacksonville State University, not Jacksonville, Florida, Jacksonville, Alabama. We play them in less than 48 hours from filming on Thursday. There's a few people that are a little scared about this game, and the reason they're scared comes down to, go back over here, comes down to this. 2024 Jacksonville State University won Conference USA. Certainly no pushover, no slouch. Won Conference USA. You go back to 2021 when they were the FCF's team. They beat Florida State in Tallahassee 20-17. Certainly spooky right there if you're looking for an easy cupcake win. This is not an easy cupcake win. They just won the Conference USA. Well, there's a little asterisk to that. This is not the same team as last year. Much like us, they're in the same position where new head coach, new coaching staff, entirely new roster, but a lot worse and at a lower tier conference. Obviously, Conference USA, a little easier to win than the Big 12. No disrespect, but Rich Rodriguez is the coach that brought them to where they are today. Obviously, get that FSU win and got that Conference USA win. You might know, Rich Rodriguez of West Virginia fame is back this year at his alma mater. But back with West Virginia where he was the most successful, and leaving Jacksonville State University with first-time head coach Charles Kelly. Now, I say leaving. It's no disrespect to Charles Kelly. He's a very talented, promising coach. He was linebacker coach at FSU in 2013, won a natty there. Tennessee special teams coordinator for a while. Defensive coordinator at Alabama in 2020 for a natty. And recently was defensive coordinator for Dion at Colorado. Interesting stuff right there. There was even talk of him becoming UCF's head coach before Frost was eventually named. No disrespect to Charles Kelly, he's a very promising head coach who should lead Jacksonville State to a promising future. However, that's really hard. As a Game 1 Power 5 team, Jacksonville State is number 133 out of 136 in the FBS for returning production. That's the third least returning production in the entire country. UCF is 106 out of 136, and that is with nearly around 70 new players. So essentially, Jacksonville State University's roster is entirely new. One of the only people that's a big name that they return is Michael Petaway, number one wide receiver, star wide receiver for them. Very, very talented player. Unfortunately for Jacksonville State, he will reportedly be out this game and is not on the depth chart. So this is an entirely new team at Conference USA level. New head coach, first-time head coach, brand new coaching staff. There is nothing about this team that is the same as last year. ESPN gives us UCF a 89.6% win chance. The spread is minus 20.5 UCF. If you don't know what that means Vegas believes UCF will win by 20.5 points. You can much more confidently jot this down as a win. Look at that. Starting off 1-0, UCF has not lost a home opener since 2015, going on 10 years, right? Game 2, FCS opponent North Carolina A&T. That'll be our military weekend and family weekend. Good stuff right there. North Carolina A&T is a FCS team from the Coastal Athletics Association. Conference mates with them are Villanova, New Hampshire, who we've played in football recently. Villanova, I believe it was 2022 or 3 we played. New Hampshire we played last year. Beat both of them handedly. Also contains Monmouth and Bryant universities in their football things, who we've played in baseball last year. North Carolina A&T, last year in the FCS, went 1-11 with their singular win over a Division II school, Winston-Salem, a 27-20 overtime victory. Their FBS team they fought last year, they lost 45-13 against Wake Forest. Not particularly positive in any way. No disrespect. ESPN gives us 99%. I really don't see how you could give us a easier opponent. No disrespect. Chalk that up as a win. All right. Here's where it starts to get real. North Carolina, UNC. Probably the most important game of the year. Obviously, Bill Belichick on North Carolina now. Retired there. First new head coach there. Never coached college before. The Bill Belichick versus Scott Frost game, as many are calling it. Very interesting game. Very interesting game. Let's face it, it's really hard to get Big 12 wins, and winning this game is going 3-0 is a lot easier than winning in the Big 12. That's to say, if you want to make a bowl, you might want to start 3-0 because winning 3 conference games is a lot easier than winning 4. That's just a big jump up. We're getting pretty hard there. So, what do we think? What are our odds? Obviously, it's a home game. There's hype for Big Noon, actually. College Game Day is going to go to UF at Miami, but we're one of the bigger games. And for a team with such story as both of us, there's a lot of talk about Big Noon coming to us. There's actually even more news about national broadcasts. Earlier this year, UNC was in talks to host Hard Knocks. Rejected that due to complications with Miss Jordan Hudson, Bill Belichick's squeeze that's closer to my age than him. Rejected that idea, but now is actually right here doing a Hard Knocks type show throughout the season, hosting it. So that means UCF will be featured on this Hulu show. Would really be nice to get a win during that, right? Between that and the storylines and not too many big games that week, there's a lot of big hype for Big Noon. But that all comes down to this game right here for UNC. We're actually the second Big 12 team they're playing. TCU plays at UNC in a few days, and this game will tell us the most about UNC. TCU's favored 58.7%. To get Big Noon, UNC would have to win, probably handedly. Selfishly, you really want them to win, so that way we get Big Noon to come to us, but if you're being more healthy and realistic, you'd want TCU to win because, 1, that's good for the Big 12. 2, that's good for us because that means they're not very good. So, hey, at the end of the day, we just want to win, right? So I'd rather win than get Big Noon and lose, right? However, that might be pretty hard because TCU is favored. We are favored 74.5% by ESPN. And the reason for this is there really has not been anything good coming out of UNC. UNC is historically not a good team. Last year they went, let's see, I apologize, I don't have their exact record, but very mid. Lost to UConn, lost to Boston College, lost to James Madison Duke. Not the most impressive record. Fired the coach, retired the coach. And Bill Belichick is odd because you could easily see him becoming a very good head coach, but you could also much more easily see him not doing well in the college landscape at all. The only thing we have seen out of UNC is distractions. I mean, look at Jordan Hudson. The only thing you have ever heard about UNC football is not how good their players are, it's how young Bill Belichick's girlfriend is. So, between the distractions at UNC, the fact that we actually have a week off heading into this game, the fact that we are not their first Big 12 opponent. Drop that as a win. Look at that. 3-0 start. Pretty good. 70. I mean, can't really ask for anything better than that in 3 games, right? Here's where it comes crashing down. Kansas State. This is going to be a very, very hard game. Our first away game, our first Big 12 game, in Manhattan, Kansas. Now, don't get me wrong. Well, we saw we all saw Farmageddon. Kansas State lost to Iowa State, 24-21. Do not judge Kansas State off of that game. It was 100,000 miles away from home on soccer turf in the rain as the first game of the college football season. Yeah, there was a lot of fumbles. That does not matter. Kansas State is a very, very strong team this year. A conference title contender. If it wasn't for the Iowa State loss, I would say near lock conference title championship play. Title game appearance, not championship, I apologize, but it's going to be a little hard after Iowa State because just makes it challenging. Avery Johnson, their quarterback, is very strong. They return everything they needed. It's going to be very, very hard for UCF to win this game. 79.3% loss. And you can see why. There's a lot of reasons. It's going to be very hard. Chalk it up to a loss. Now, next week, back at home against another Kansas team. Who would have thought? Kansas. This is an interesting game. It's our Big 12 home opener. Kansas Jayhawks return a ton of production. Jalen Daniels is a fantastic QB. The other day, he went 18 for 20, 176 yards, 3 touchdowns against Fresno State. This is going to be a hard team. Kansas is a built team this year. They're really going for it. At least built compared to their historic things. You could easily convince me that this is going to be a win. However, I just think Kansas is very slept on after last year. Maybe not conference title aspirations, but will definitely be in the upper half. It is by far the easier of the 2 Kansas games. But if you see the matchup predictor gives it 52% Kansas, which is 50-50, but you always get one loss that's at home that is very hard. And I just see Kansas being a little bit more built out this year and a little bit more prepared. You could easily convince me that this is a win, but I'll give this one to the Jayhawks. All right. First, Cincinnati. Whoo-wee. The Bearcats. I'll actually be at this game. It's away at Cincinnati. Obviously, we lost against Cincinnati this year. Rivalry game, Big 12 rivalry game. We're going to learn a lot about Cincinnati on Thursday because they same time we're playing Jacksonville State, they're playing Nebraska. Now, Nebraska is not the best, but they're certainly nowhere near the worst, and a lot of people are very up on Nebraska this year. I'm not so sure about that, but I think they're going to handedly beat the Bearcats. We're going to learn a lot about Cincy there. what we see last year is we were one play away from winning against them, even with the previous tenured coach's abysmal clock management and laughable errors that lost us the game in the final seconds. Other than that, Cincinnati ended 5-7 last year, only propped up by that win against us. If it was one pass away, it was right in front of me, right in front of the student section, one reception away from UCF and Cincinnati's fortunes being flipped last year, we would have, there would have been some different discussions going on. Cincinnati head coach Scott Satterfield is ranked as one of the top 5 hot seat jobs in the country. And as we know, when we went in 2023, Nippert Stadium is not a hard environment. It was quiet as a pin, and coming off of last year, I don't expect it to be the most raucous environment. I don't expect a sellout crowd, and yeah, they hate us, but ESPN gives it a 50.5% chance for UCF to win. This they call this as close of a toss-up as you can. I will give this to us because we want it bad. We hate Cincinnati, and they just don't. They look like they're slightly stronger in some ways than last year, but they also look slightly weaker. All right, West Virginia Mountaineers back at home. Rich Rodriguez, we saw from Jacksonville State University, coming back home to where he thinks he belongs in West Virginia. The brand new returning head coach versus brand new returning head coach bowl, right? Scott Frost coming back to where he previously coached. Rich Rodriguez coming back to where he previously coached. Certainly an interesting game with a lot of storyline potential right there. But what we really see is, when we break it down, is what it was always planned for Rich Rodriguez to come back to West Virginia. He had a lot more time on his hands. There was a lot more planning. They have less turnover and a just better position starting out than Scott Frost was given at UCF. Obviously, Rich Rod was planned before the season ended. Scott Frost came in a month after the season ended. UCF has never beat West Virginia. In 2023, when they came here, the bounce house was packed with West Virginia fans. They're in an easier starting position than us. 66.9% win for us. But when you really break it down, it looks a little challenging. And this is one that's going, in my opinion, might be a really painful loss for UCF. Although it could just as easily be a loss for West Virginia. Now going on for less painful losses. Yes, you might as well just spoil it out the gate and say loss against Baylor. Baylor is going to win this football game. I would be shocked and awed if they do not. ESPN gives it 60.2. Baylor is my pick for conference champion. Bare minimum conference title appearance. Baylor's going to be very strong this year. We previously in the past, of course, there's 2013, but that's a decade ago, more than. In 2023, when they came here, unfortunately, I was at that game. We have the utter collapse. It's an away game at McLean Stadium, I believe it's called. Let me see. I apologize. Very beautiful stadium. Yes, McLean Stadium. Very beautiful new stadium they built there. Great environment in Waco. That would be a very hard game to win. Maybe even harder than Kansas State. We're going to lose. We're going to lose against Baylor, most likely. Now, enough of the negativity. Let's get back to some positivity. The space game. Houston. Look at that right there. Some people are even calling it the space race. Houston fans kind of want that rivalry a little bit more than we do. If you ever hear Houston fans calling themselves a space school, they stole all of their space valor from Rice. We're the only real space school. The only ones you could even call are maybe Rice and maybe the Naval Academy, because they put so many astronauts in, but nothing has a real claim on it like we do. Don't listen to them. Space game. Call it a W at the game, right? Now, let's be realistic. Eventually, we got to lose a space game, and it's probably going to happen within the next 5 years, but I don't think it's going to be this one. As you can see, 8.2% chance for UCF to win here. Houston last year went 4-8 last year. Not a good thing. They're going to be a little stronger than they were last year, but we have not lost to Houston since 2015, when we lost to everyone. We've had Houston's number for a long time. Houston may be stronger than they were last year. Maybe not. It's an away game, and I'll tell you what, Friday night in the bounce house for the space game, whew, I'd be scared if I was anyone. Look at that. Space game W right there. Now, crashing back down to earth, we have a interesting opponent in Texas Tech. Texas Tech, famous this year for their $30 million roster. Joey McGuire, head coach. A lot of people picking them for conference contender, but I'll tell you what, I don't think they're going to be that good. You ask many longer-term Big 12 people, every year Texas Tech thinks it's their year. It never is. I think with just a $30 million roster and this weird situation, this is very likely to be not their year either. Joey McGuire, head coach, is actually one of the hottest seats in the country because he was questionable last year. I mean, safe but questionable. But after the publicity and money and absolute everything they've gotten, if he doesn't make a conference championship game this year, it's going to be bad in Lubbock. Although they're going to win. Lubbock is a hard environment. They've got a better roster, and it's going to be very hard. Moving on to Oklahoma State University. Oklahoma State. Oh, girls are calling me. Sorry, give me senior night for UCF. Oklahoma State, for a little bit there, was very strong. Has not been the same since 2023. Obviously, we had the space game right here. Space game, 45-3 shelling of Oklahoma State. Did okay after that, and in 2024 went completely winless in the Big 12. They went 2-10 last year with 0 wins in the Big 12. Beaten us, even though we only had 2, right? Thank you, Oklahoma State, for making us look good. Mike Gundy may be the hottest seat in the country. He's been their head coach for 21 years, I believe, and was almost fired, but agreed to take a reduced pay cut and entirely restructure his pay and staffing. If he does not win, if he repeats the same thing this year, I would expect Mike Gundy to retire. No disrespect, he did very good things for Oklahoma State, but it's been a bad few years. There's also been controversies. If you know anything about Mike Gundy, he's got a big mouth. Funny, hilarious guy. But at Big 12 Media Days, talked about how they weren't paying players and NIL, controversy and stuff. I think it's possible, and I think it's likely that they're going to do better than they did last year, but I don't think they're going to do good, and I think it may be the last year for Mike Gundy. ESPN gives UCF a 73.4% win chance, and I wholeheartedly agree. It's a very likely win. Now, last game of the year, away game, make it hard, make it fun, and Provo, Utah against BYU, the Cougars, right? This is going to be an interesting game. First of all, because it is November 29th, call it December, in Utah, is going to be very, very cold and miserable for some Florida boys. BYU is always a great, hard, tough-to-play-in environment. Those fans are some of the best in the country, and they're some of the most rowdy in the Big 12, and it's hard to play in Provo. Now, from a purely X's and O's standpoint, a lot of people are down on BYU after Jake Retzloff, their quarterback, was suspended and transferred over to Tulane. But I'm not as down as BYU as many would think. He did great for them, but there was a lot of other pieces that also did stuff to them. They've named a starting quarterback Bear Bachmeier, and on the other hand, I'm not as up on him as many BYU fans think. I'm hearing some crazy, crazy stuff that they think he's going to do. I'll be honest, if he was second string, I wish him good luck, but he's not the second coming of Tom Brady, let's be for real. However, Florida boys and maybe below frozen, and an already tough environment against a strong team, I don't think we're getting that final dub. And look at that. We have, for the final score, 6-6. Starting off 3-0, having some tough things in there, but a 3-6 in the Big 12, slightly better than we did last year. That would be considered kind of mid, which is what we need, honestly. But this is the big number right here, 6-6. I do think we will go 6-6. The absolute floor I see is 2-10. Realistic floor is 4-8. Absolute ceiling I see is 9-3. Realistic ceiling is 7-5. I really don't see us winning anything more than 7 games if everything goes our way. Maybe 8. If everything goes our way, remember that toss-up game. If we win every toss-up, that's still 4 losses, so that's 8-4. We're not gonna win every toss-up, but we could win a good amount of them. All we gotta win is 4 of them, and hey, 6-6 as the start of this year with a lot of young talent and a brand new young coaching staff, I'll take it. If you're looking after this, after the season, tell me how right I did. And in the comments, tell me your predictions. Tell me where I'm wrong, where I'm stupid. Tell me how UCF's going 12-0. Tell me how they're going 2-10. Let me hear your predictions down in the comments. I'm ready for some football, baby. Let's get some games going. And as always, go Knights, charge on.